Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our event where we're going to talk a little bit about the severe storm that's about to hit us. I want to start by saying that all the agencies of the MTA are very well prepared for an event like what's about to hit us. We have contingency plans and contingencies on contingencies to make sure that everybody is kept safe at all times. Our situation room is operating 24 hours a day to deal with any situation real time. The overwhelming message for everybody is if people do not have to go out starting tonight and for the next day and a half, please stay at home if you can at all, because there's going to be things that are unpredictable that will happen with a storm like what's about to hit us. And we want to make sure that we do everything to keep everybody safe at all times. And with this, I'll pass it over to Sarah Feinberg, President of NYCT. Sarah?
Okay, good afternoon. I'm only going to speak for a moment because I'm going to turn it over to my able colleagues, Craig Cipriano, who's going to talk about buses, and Demetrius Critchlow, who's going to talk about subways. Just like with any storm, we've been preparing for this storm for a couple of days now. We always get a jump start on preparing for any kind of weather, which puts us in a good position given that the forecast changed on us a bit overnight, but we're ready to respond to that. As Mario said perfectly, if you don't have to be out tomorrow, starting tonight and into tomorrow and into Tuesday, stay home. We're prepared, obviously, for people to be out in the system, but better if you can stay home. With that, I'll turn it over to Craig to talk about buses.
Thank you, Sarah. So I just want to echo the sentiments of both Mario and Sarah. If you don't need to travel tomorrow, please stay home. But if you do need to use the bus system for your essential activities, I want you to know we are prepared. Towards that end, we are looking to reduce some service so that we could take all of our 60-foot articulated buses off the road. And in order to do that, we've been moving hundreds of buses over the last couple of days, as well as chaining approximately 3,000 40-foot buses that will be out during the snowstorm. We are also going to be implementing our full command and control structure, which will include strategically deploying 35 snow fighters in and around the city to work with sanitation on our hotspots and our terminals. Equally, we will also be deploying 60 road trucks and tow trucks that will also be throughout the city so that we could keep buses moving wherever we see we have issues. We have well over 300,000 pounds of de-icing material, 80 trucks equipped with plows, and many other assets that we'll be deploying throughout the city. We've also been in contact with New York City Department of Sanitation all weekend to work on our planning efforts, and we'll continue to work closely with them as they are a key partner here in keeping buses moving throughout the city. For our paratransit customers, I'd like to say we will continue to be providing service. We will be offloading as many trips we can onto our 1,100 strong dedicated fleet, which will be equipped with snow chains as well as all-weather tires. Starting today, we're putting additional personnel in our paratransit command center, and we're going to a 24-hour booking cycle as opposed to the typical 48 hours. Also, as we have done throughout the pandemic, there'll be no shared trips throughout this, and we will be cutting off all feeder service. Again, what I'd like to say to both bus and paratransit customers is please limit your travel to only essential trips, and please continue to check the My MTA app as well as the MTA website for up-to-date details on service levels. Lastly, before turning it over, I'd like to thank the buses and paratransit team, all the employees that continue to work hard throughout this weekend, and will be working very hard over the next 48 hours to make sure that our customers have the bus and paratransit service they need to perform those essential trips. With that said, I'd like to turn it over to my partner, Demetrius Critchlow, to talk about subways. Thank you.
Good afternoon. So for subways, we're certainly prepared for whatever may come our way. We have equipment that we're sending out this afternoon, which will be de-icing both the tracks and the third rail. It's repurposed older cars, which produce a specialized fluid, which we spray on the rails. We also have our snow throwers, which will be operating likely tomorrow. And we also have our jet blowers, which we'll be using and deploying within the yards. What's interesting about this storm is that we really need to remain flexible. As subways, we generally tend to be very difficult to turn. It's hard to turn a train. But we have to be flexible with the storm, prepare for what may come. Based upon the amount of forecast that we have coming, we have to look ahead. The areas that start getting the snow earlier, the locations where we're getting more, we may have to curtail a service in some of those locations in preparation, because our goal is not to have one customer or one train stranded. So we'll make sure that we start curtailing early in advance of that, and then we'll do our special operations to make sure that any issues that we do have with train service are properly addressed. We also want to talk about the express service, because a lot of times we wind up taking our trains out of the yards and placing them on our express tracks so that the trains aren't blocked in the yards with the heavy snow. It may have an impact on your express service, so there's likely to have some type of impact in that area. The last thing I'd like to say is to give kudos, great thanks to the many transit subway employees that do an amazing job every day. From our cleaners that will be taking care of our station platforms, doing our stairwells, to our maintenance folks who will be doing the tracks and keeping the switches clear, to all of our subway service delivery and Staten Island Railway employees that just do an amazing job in making sure that we're prepared for the next rush hour. Thank you, and I'm looking forward to once again being able to have another great rush hour prepared for next day of service. With that, I'll turn it back over to Mario.
Thank you, Demetrius. So I want to repeat again that if people don't have to go out during the events for the next day and a half or so, please don't go out. If you have to, be extra careful. I'm going to talk a little bit about the railroads, the commuter railroads and bridges and tunnels. So our two railroads are very used to these types of events, and they have all the machinery at their disposal to make sure that there's a minimal impact during the event. They have a lot of specialized trains out there that can de-ice as well as scrape the third rail and the overhead catenary to make sure that we have power throughout. As well as snow melters for the switches and other equipment like that to do the best that we can to continue operation. Metro North is not making any changes to the service that they're providing because it's about 63% of full service pre-COVID, so they don't need to make any changes to that schedule. Long Island Railroad will go to weekend service in order to ensure that we can continue providing predictable service. I have to note that on Metro North, the last trains in and out of Grand Central Station will be around midnight tomorrow. So the last trains will arrive at about just past midnight, and the last train will depart Grand Central around midnight. So we're going to curtail service in and out of Grand Central a little bit. For bridges and tunnels, starting tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock, we're going to have a soft ban for empty tractor trailers as well as tandem vehicles, just because of the wind conditions that are going to start to rise tomorrow. And we have over 150 pieces of machinery that will be deployed to de-ice and plow the roads, the bridges and the tunnels. So I hope with this you realize that we're doing everything that we can for all the agencies to keep people safe at all times. And I want to reflect what my colleagues have said already, that we thank all the employees of the MTA that are helping us prepare as well as keep things going during the storm. And with this, I'd like to open it up to questions if there are any.
snow per hour? Thank you. Is there a certain threshold of snow or snow per hour that would cause maybe an above-ground subway closure or paring back further of commuter rail schedules?
Well, as I'm sure you know, there's a little bit of unpredictability on the winds and the snowfall rates. We heard earlier from a weather person that we expect the worst of the storm as far as precipitation to be tomorrow, after the rush hour. That's what we expect. So our teams are prepared for all the agencies to deal with that and ramp up as this time frame comes a little bit closer.
Other questions? Any other questions? All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Set up the ramp, yeah.